All right, I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Jeff Cohen back with you guys to do a little bit of conversation around sponsored product ads, and I have fellow Seller Labs and founder Brandon Checketts. So, Brandon, what's going on? How you doing?
Not much. It's good to be on with you, Jeff. I don't think I've been on a Facebook Live event with you yet before.
I know it's your company, so welcome to your own Facebook Live.
I watch most of them at least to make sure you stay on track.
Yeah, we're going to give people here a minute or so to jump in and kind of see what we've got going on. We have we're going to go through some quick information here, talking about terminology to help campaign organization, sponsored product ads. What we're going to do here is a little bit of a series. We're going to talk about this in a couple of Facebook Lives and a couple of blog posts. I'll share the blog post with everybody here, giving you guys a chance to ask some questions about sponsored product ads. And I guess all of this is going to culminate with the release of a new sponsored product ads tool from Seller Labs. So we can kind of start with the tease, right?
Yeah, we're really excited about that. I've been working on it for a few months now and just ready to go. We're getting really excited about it.
Awesome. So if you're not familiar, this is the blog post we're going to be talking about. So let's jump in here. If you guys have any comments or questions, write them in the box. If we get, let's say 20 comments, if we can get 20 comments, we're going to give away a couple of these cool t-shirts. So write some comments, give us some hearts, give us some love, tell us kind of what's happening. You also have the ability underneath here, you have the ability to follow us. And if you click to follow, then you get instant notification when we go live. We only like to go live with very valuable information. So let's jump into this. So Brandon, let's start for the people that really don't know what's going on. Let's just talk about the definition, sponsored product ads. Why would a seller use them? What are they kind of used for?
Yeah, so obviously getting your product shown on Amazon is extremely important. It's one of the biggest search engines in the world and probably the best one to be if you're selling products, because buyers go to the Amazon with the intent to buy. And so like the reason you need to have it is because like Amazon places your product in organic, what sort of looks like organic search results pages. On the top of those, on the side of those, at the bottom of those, that puts sponsored products ads on competitors' pages. Sponsored products are kind of all over the Amazon.com website, and so it's really important to have your product listed there in order to help get more sales for your stuff.
Yeah, and I think I was just at a conference. I was at the Catalyst conference for Channel Advisor. And the one thing that they kept saying at that conference was that sponsored product ads are the new normal. You need them to compete on Amazon today. So let's go through some terminology, kind of talk people through this. So targeting type. Let's talk about what is the targeting types. What are the different types of campaigns that somebody can choose to run?
Yeah, certainly. So the default sort of the biggest level thing you can put in sponsored products is called a campaign. And campaigns, when you create a campaign, you have to define what targeting type you want to use for that campaign. The targeting type can be only one of two things. They're either a manual targeting type or an automatic targeting type. And what automatic targeting means is that Amazon is basically going to figure out all the keywords for you, and you don't have any ability to specify keywords. They're just going to figure out what keywords they think are relevant to your products. And when somebody starts searching for those keywords, your product will be displayed. Sometimes it works pretty well. Sometimes doesn't work so well. The other side of that is the manual targeted campaigns, where Amazon doesn't do any of the keyword stuff automatically, and you have to, as a seller, have to specify all the search phrases and the keywords for which you want your product to appear. So that's much more specific, but it's also more work because the seller has to figure out what all those are on their own.
Awesome. So our next blog post is actually going to really go into the targeting types, auto versus manual, give some examples of kind of those. So let's go through some of these kind of quickly. Let's talk about the default bid.
Sure. So once we're talking about a default bid is when you create a campaign and you first set up your first ad groups, you have the ability to put in there the default bid. And the default bid is nothing more than just like, if you don't specify a bid, a more specific bid, the default bid is the bid that you're going to be that you're going to bid on all the key phrases. So the default bid applies to both targeting types, for both automatic and manual. At the automatic level, it's the only bid you get, really, because you don't specify any keywords. So it is the bid if you're doing an automatic targeted campaign. And on a manual targeted campaign, you have the ability to specify, divide up your campaigns into different ad groups. You can specify a different default bid on each ad group. And then inside the ad groups, you have the ability to override the default bid on each keyword, but the default is the default if you don't specify one.
Gotcha. So you kind of touched upon, so what's the difference between a default bid and a suggested bid?
So the default bid is what you as the seller define you want your default bid to be. So if you, like, what we typically see is most people are, if just out of the blue, if I don't know anything about your campaign, I'll probably suggest you set a default bid of about $1. I did some analytics this morning on across all the campaigns and stuff that we've done. And we found across all of our campaigns and everything, the average cost per click is around 62 or 64 cents, something like that. So if you set a default bid of about $1, you've got a good chance of getting some clicks from that. If you're on really competitive terms, the bid's going to be higher and you may not get those, but $1 as a default bid might be a pretty good starting point. Now, you also mentioned in there the suggested bid. Now, inside Amazon Sponsored Product Interface, they have a column in there for suggested bid. And that's Amazon sort of taking all the people that are bidding on certain search terms, on certain keywords, and they're telling you what they think is an appropriate bid range for any particular phrase. So some keywords are going to be more expensive because there's more competitors on them. And so the suggested bid on those cases is going to be a little bit higher. We've seen, it really depends on what your product is and what category you're selling in. We see suggested bids all the way from the 15-cent range all the way up to the $3 range. For really, really competitive terms.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about campaign structure. And I see some comments coming in. Hey, Ben, welcome to the broadcast about strategies. You're a more experienced seller. I don't know that we're going to get into a lot of strategies in this initial conversation. We're really kind of covering the high level discussion of like terminology. So we're going to get into strategy. I'm not going to, but it just might not be today. So I want to give you kind of a heads up. If you want to go save some lives instead of listening to us, I totally understand. And for those that don't know, Ben's a doctor, so I'm not just saying that to be sarcastic. All right, Brandon, let's talk about campaign. Like, what is it? What is like the grouping of campaigns, ad groups, keywords, like the structure of how sponsored products is designed?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to just talk about what Amazon offers, and then I think, like you mentioned, in a future one, we're going to talk about what we suggest in some of these, but I just want to talk about what's there so that people know what the context is and what the terminology is. So the broadest, the top level thing you create inside Amazon is called a campaign, and then a campaign has one or more ad groups within that. And both the campaign and the ad groups are sort of just arbitrary containers for putting different things in them. There's not really a lot of guidance from Amazon on how many products should go in one or how many keywords should go in one. There's some limits that they have in place, but I like to think of both of them just as sort of arbitrary containers that contain both products or keywords. Now, what you do have is at the campaign level, you've got the ability to specify daily budgets, and that's the only place you can specify a budget. So if you want to place controls around your spending over how much you're spending, all that has to be done inside a campaign. And then the ad group, the only really control you get at the ad group is the default bid amounts. And then different ad groups can have different groups of keywords or different products. And you can use some of the advanced stuff to sort of segment those out a little bit more. But I want to just kind of convey that they're both sort of arbitrary grouping mechanisms. So you can group your products, your keywords together however you like. Now, we've obviously got some opinions about how to do that, but both of those are just mechanisms to group things together.
Yeah,
and so then inside ad groups, or you define your products and keywords.
Campaign is the super high level, and then you kind of have the ad groups as the next, and then the keywords are associated to the ad groups, right?
Yeah, so both keywords and product ads is Amazon's terminology for that. So your products and your keywords each belong into an ad group.
Awesome. Got a couple questions. Let's jump into those before we go into some more terminology here. So being questioned, it's kind of going back to what we were talking about before. Rich wants to know that his suggested bids are lower than what he usually gets the bid for. I'm going to jump and answer that really quick. I typically find that my suggested bids are actually higher than what I get the bid for. So it could totally just be the product. I don't know, Brandon, are you seeing anything else across a larger spectrum?
Yeah, I think I see it both ways too. Amazon used to have this thing called the suggested page one bid estimate, which was a single dollar amount that they'd suggest. And that was, Amazon even admits that was pretty rudimentary, not accurate most of the time. They've moved towards a range now. So you get a 15 cents to 35 cents. They'll give you a little bit better range on their interface. So that's a little bit better and sort of it's more encompassing. But usually what it comes down to is like there's just a lot of volatility in the bids, right? So different people are bidding on things. At the moment you're looking at the screen, they might have 40 people bidding on the same term and they're giving you a suggested bid based on just that moment in time. But, an hour or a day later, there might be different people bidding on it. And so the whole dynamics changes. It's very, very fluid in how all this works. And Amazon is still pretty primitive as far as how they're calculating all these things. If you come from the Google space or even like Bing, stuff like that, a lot of their tools are a lot more sophisticated. But this Amazon is just really new at this whole game. So their suggestions, their structures, their reporting is all pretty primitive.
Yeah, it's. I was actually at a conference, and what they said was Amazon is where Google was 10 years ago, right? Like this is still kind of the very beginning. An expert in sponsored product ads has been doing it for like a year, right? Like, so you're not that far behind if you haven't started, and people are still trying to figure out the right strategies of what to do and how to do it. And that's why we're trying to provide this education. And, really, if you hang on to the end, we're going to give you the opportunity to get first access to our new sponsored product ad tool. We're getting closer to 20 comments. So keep giving me comments, keep giving us hearts, like keep throwing hearts and thumbs up at us. Tell us that this is stuff you like, and we'll keep talking about it. All right. I'm going to jump back into some of our terminology because I want to make sure we kind of stay away from things that are hard on strategy, and maybe we can cover a little bit of things on strategy at the end because I see a couple of strategy questions that are coming up. Thanks for the hearts. Thanks for the thumbs up. That's what I like to see. People are listening. We're keeping you live. We're getting really close to giving away the shirts, so keep commenting and letting us know what's going on. All right, Brandon. Understanding sponsored product ad reports. There's a bunch of data inside the reports. So let's talk about some of these terms within the reports. So let's start with impression. What's an impression? What's impression mean?
Yeah, so yeah, you look at the reports. There's probably about 10 or 12 columns across. We're going to touch on those. We're going to basically work our way from an impression, which means your ad shown, all the way to a conversion and a sale. So starting at the impressions. An impression just simply means that Amazon showed your ad for a user somewhere on a page, on the top bar, the sidebar, inside a different page. An impression just means your ad was shown. Doesn't mean anybody clicked on it. Doesn't mean anything more than that. Gotcha.
Then what's a bid, right? So we talked about kind of the default bid. We talked about the suggested bid, and then in the reporting section, what's a bid?
Certainly. So the impression and the bid go together a little bit because when Amazon shows an impression for you, it means that you were bidding on it at a rate that was competitive with other people. And so the bid is like a number that you specify when you create the product ads and when you create the keywords around them. You create bids on those. And then Amazon uses all the people that were advertising for a particular search phrase or for a particular term. It looks at all the people that are advertising for it, including everybody's bid for it, and then some other metrics that are a little bit less clear. And it determines where your placement goes on the page, depending on all that kind of stuff. So the bid is the amount that you necessarily bid on something, but it doesn't necessarily mean what you paid for it, right? So I could bid $2 on a term, but if the next person below me only bid 25 cents, then Amazon's going to only charge me 26 cents for that once somebody clicks on that bid.
Awesome. Hey, by the way, bravo, Facebook world. We've gone past 25 comments. All right. I'm going to set a new goal. I'm still going to give away shirts, okay? So I'm still going to give away shirts, but let's see if we can get to, should I go something lofty? How about if we can get to 100 comments? If we can get to 100 comments before this is done, these need to be legitimate, so don't just start throwing stuff in there. We're going to give away, I don't know, Brandon. Let's give away 6 months of our new tool to one lucky winner. All right.
Sounds good.
So 6 months of our tool to one lucky winner. All right. So we talked about bid and let's see. I think we're on click and click through rate. So let's kind of talk about click and click through rate.
Sure. So we talked about impressions. This means your ad was shown. That's based on your bid, how much you were bidding. A click means after your ad was shown that a user clicked on the ad. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The important thing about clicks, though, is like that's when you get charged money from Amazon, right? So you don't get charged when they show your ad. You get charged when somebody clicks on your ad. So a click has to do with your ad was shown and somebody clicked on it. And then the metric that kind of goes along with that is as a percentage called click-through rate. And a click-through rate is a very simple mathematical thing. It's just the number of clicks divided by the number of impressions. So if you had 1,000 impressions and you had 100 people click on them, that would be a 10% click-through rate. That'd be extremely high. But so it's just the click-through rate is just the number of clicks divided by the number of impressions. Now, typically we see click-through rates in the 1% or sub 1% range. I did some math earlier this morning, and across all the campaigns that we have access to and everything, it was about a 0.2% click-through rate across everything. So total on average across all stuff, good and bad, is about a 0.2% click-through rate. So the really focused ads, campaigns, people that are really likely to buy stuff, we see are in the maybe 3% range. And then, a lot of stuff gets in that 0.5% range. Somewhere in there is really common.
Gotcha. Well,
yeah.
Brandon, I started something because we just went from 25 comments to 50 by offering 6 months of the software. So keep it up. I want to see some hearts and some thumbs up. Now you have to comment if you want a chance of winning, because I can't select a winner unless you comment. So let's do this, which will give everybody a chance to comment. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think you guys know sponsored product ads? And I don't mean like know it. I guess let's say, how well do you feel you do it, right? Like, do you think you're really great at it? You're a 10? Do you think you're not really good at it? You're a 1, or you're kind of okay at it? And Joe, yeah, I'm going to give you credit. You know what, Joe? You get a shirt. Joe, you just got yourself a shirt for that. This is a comment. All right, let's see. I'm
seeing a lot of people in the 4 to 5 range. A few 7s in there. A 7.7 from Matthew.
Yeah, I need to write this down. Joel, hopefully, Caroline, you online? Because if you are, someone needs to help me remember who gets a shirt. But Joel got a shirt for his comment. I like the comment. See, creativity wins. Creativity definitely wins. So yeah, we're definitely seeing people kind of all over the place. So let's go into, all right, so we talked about cost per click and click. What's a so in the reports, they show you conversion, sales, conversion rate. Let's kind of touch on those.
Sure. Well, so our blog kind of defines these very academically, I guess, but we'll just talk through them a little bit. So a conversion basically means after someone clicked on your product, it means that they bought at least one thing. So a conversion, you can just think about it on an individual user basis. If I saw your ad, I clicked on it, and I bought something, that would be a conversion. Now, the conversion metric that you see in the reports does not count if somebody bought more than one thing. It only counts if somebody bought something. It only counts as a single conversion. But the metric that goes along with that, the sales or the revenue side, does take into account. If they bought 2 things, then you get sales revenue in dollars for twice as many, right? So if I'm selling a product that maybe sells for $20, and I had somebody saw that ad and bought it, it would count as 1 conversion. But if they bought 2 of them, I would see $40 in sales or revenue. So it still counts as 1 conversion, but the revenue gets counted. The revenue gets counted for all the products they bought, no matter what quantity.
Gotcha. And I think that's a very critical kind of number for people to understand is how much sales is being generated, what's their conversion rate of that sale, because that's what's ultimately telling Amazon back whether it's working or not. Now, this is a metric that's talked a lot. It's spoken a lot in the space, and I'm actually going to.
You don't get over to ACoS yet. I want to talk a little more about conversions real quick.
Okay, you want to keep going on conversion. All right, keep going.
Yeah, so one more thing I wanted to mention about both of these metrics, conversions and sales revenues, is that Amazon, it's actually a little bit fuzzy, right? When somebody buys something, if they see your ad and click on it and buy it, but they don't buy it for 6 days later, is that still a conversion or a sale? So it's a little bit fuzzy. So what Amazon does is they give us 3 buckets for each one of these, right? So they have a sale or a conversion within 1 day, the same thing, a sale or conversion within 7 days, and a sale or conversion within 30 days. And so when we're talking about the sales and conversions, Amazon's reports and stuff show 3 different numbers for those. There's 1 day, 7 day, and 30-day conversion rates and conversions and sales revenues. So again, I did a little bit of math this morning in preparation for this. And what I found is that about, on average, again, this is on average across all of our products, all the stuff that we have access to, if the 7-day sales is about 18% higher than the 1-day sales. So what that kind of means to me is like if somebody about 18%, if you wait another 7 days, you'll get about 18% more conversions happen on it. And I think a lot of that's just due to like people adding it to their cart. They buy it a couple days later. Maybe their payment method took a couple days to clear. Lots of instances where that happens. And then if I look at the difference between 1 day and 30-day revenue, it's about 25% increase. So if I had 1,000 conversions on 1 day, if we wait the full 30 days and look back at the 30-day conversion window, it's about 25% more than that.
Yeah, and you have to remember that when somebody goes from your ad to your page, even if they don't buy, there's a good chance that Amazon's going to retarget them, that Amazon's going to send them an email with a product of your picture in it and say, hey, you were looking at this picture at this product at one point in time. Do you want to consider buying it? So Amazon does some retargeting for you, which is why you see that growth in the 7 and 30-day conversion. And so I think that the moral of that number, of that story, is that you want to be looking at your conversion rate over time, not just a single point in time when you're trying to make decisions. Now, had a couple of really good comments come through. So let's answer a couple of questions. So first off, Kristen, you discussed the difference between auto and manual. You might have joined us a couple of minutes late, but we kind of covered that topic right at the beginning. So I'm not going to jump into that right now. Ron was asking how many products can be in one ad group. I know you kind of have a different opinion than what's publicly stated. So we could probably do a whole live just on that, but you want to kind of talk about the idea of products like how many products you put into an ad group or a campaign?
That gets a little bit beyond what I kind of want to talk about, more than just terminology here. That's kind of more theory or suggestions. The thing that I want to reinforce here is like container, the ad groups and the campaigns are just arbitrary containers. And so it really depends on your goals. I would say I see looking through and talking with our customers, we see people do it all kinds of different ways. Some people have one campaign with 1,000 products. Some people have got 7 campaigns for one product. It just depends on your methodology. And I want to touch on that in a little bit more detail as far as what we suggest in a future video.
Yeah. So, and a couple of you are kind of posting comments specifically to your account. It's hard for us to diagnose why one thing happens in one account on a live broadcast where we can't ask you questions or dig into your account to kind of see what potentially the problem is. So it's not that we're ignoring that. It's just really hard for us to tell you why you are or you are not getting a specific result that you're looking for when all we have is a really simple, I'm trying to do this, why isn't it working? So I'm not reading a few of those questions on purpose. But Brandon, let's jump into this term. It's bantered about a lot. It's advertising cost of sale, or the ACoS, and talk about, it's a metric that a lot of Amazon sellers use to determine whether their campaigns are successful or not. So do you want to kind of explain that?
Certainly. If you've ever looked at advertising reports or talked with anybody about this, I'm sure they've mentioned the ACoS, which is the advertising cost of sale. Again, this is just a mathematical formula. What it is it's the total cost for your campaign, or for any grouping you're looking at. It can be at the campaign level or the ad group level or the keyword level or the product level. Across all those levels, it's the total cost for that divided by the total number of sales you received for that. So to put it more concrete, if I spent $100 advertising and that led to $1,000 in sales revenue, that would be a 10% ACoS. So it's really just simple math. The nice thing about ACoS ACoS pushes a lot of people to this, is it's a fairly holistic view of conversion rates, what my bid was, and all that sort of stuff wrapped together. So you can dive into little portions of that and say conversion rate was this, and my cost per click was this. But the ACoS is kind of a holistic view of like what was all that stuff aggregated together, how effective was my advertising. And it is really nice for that. The thing that's a little bit confusing or off-putting is if you come from a different industry, like Google AdWords or something like that, ACoS is not something that's ever thrown around there. So it's a completely Amazon-centric term, but it is pretty useful.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think the thing you have to kind of understand with that is kind of like, what are your margins in your product, right? So you'll hear some people say like, oh, 40% ACoS, 30, I want 5, I want 10. That's not a number that you can just follow because it's written in a book. You really have to figure out, see, Joe, you just asked that. What is a good ACoS? That's exactly, like, thank you, right on point. Like that's
it depends.
I mean, it really is it really does depend. And, one of the things I shared at the presentation I did this morning was you also have to be looking at what your goals of your campaign are. So if you're just launching a product and you need more sales, you might take your ACoS higher. If you have a mature product, you might be shooting for it to be lower. We all want ACoS to be as low as possible. That's just the way we want it to be. We want it to be as low as possible because the lower it is, the more profit we make, right?
Yeah, a couple more things I want to touch on with that. And so I don't know if I've talked to Mike Ziegler. I think he's the guy that kind of invented this when he was at Amazon. I heard him talk about it a couple of times, and I've asked him about it. Essentially, like they want the sellers to think of ACoS similar to how they think of their cost percentage of the total revenue, right? So most sellers are familiar with like what their margin is, as far as my margin is 40%, or my Amazon fees I know make up 25%. They want sellers to think of ACoS in sort of those terminologies because it kind of helps. It helps you to get some context around what it costs to advertise. And so, the thing that you can say, and I think Paul, my co-founder with Seller Labs, like he likes to say, if you want to be really aggressive, like you just need to know what your margin is, and your ACoS should be like really close to your margin. If you want to be really aggressive, that means you're breaking even essentially. You're not making any money. If your ACoS is exactly equal to your cost or to your margin, then you're not making any money, but you're getting advertising out of it.
Yeah.
So frame it in that percentage way to sort of think about it in those terms, is like, what does it cost as a percentage of my retail sale price?
Yeah, and I think even as I think I hopefully pronounced this right, Ferris says, at what point should he end a campaign? It goes back to you understanding the metrics of your own product and again, your goal, right? So when Paul was saying break even, that's because his goal was to drive sales velocity, whereas somebody else's goal might not be to drive sales velocity. It might be to drive profitability. And so you really have to look at what you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish. So I put the link.
You also may have different ACoS goals depending on what you're trying to do, right? So if you're trying to take on a very, very broad term, you might have a different ACoS goal than if you're advertising on your brand's keywords, right? So if you're advertising on your brand's keywords, you'd expect that to be really effective because people are searching for your brand, and you want your ACoS to be really low. Where if you're advertising on a very broad keyword that's very heavy, that's very competitive, you'd expect your ACoS to be higher. So it's kind of hard to say, like, I want my ACoS to be X, because even for one product, it might depend on what context you're talking about your ACoS. Now, as far as like real world examples, like we see people all over the place. We see people all the way from like the 3% range, or even below 3% for some people, all the way up to 120% of some people's goals. So like I said, Joe, it just depends on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and how competitive your sort of industry is.
Yeah. So a couple questions that came through here that I thought were good. It looks like people really like kind of the explanation of ACoS there, and definitely it's something that you really need to understand. Let me just look through here and kind of see. I love the community kind of sharing with one another. Let's see. What other, I guess I think we've the last terminology on our doc was cost per sale. So I know this is kind of another vanity metric, but let's just cover it so we make sure we cover all of the cost or all of the definitions within the terminology of sponsored product ads. Don't want to leave any of them out. And then if you guys have questions about additional terms or things that you've heard bantered about, go ahead and post them in the comments so we can take a look at them and see if we can answer them and shed some additional light. The link that I put at the top is our new tool, sellerlabs.com/ignite. The tool is open. It is available. We're currently limiting the number of people that can sign up for it to make sure that we onboard all of our customers properly and have a properly functioning tool. You can learn more about it. It does some campaign management, and we invite you to join the waiting list. First come, first serve. So join the waiting list and be one of the first to get on. And like we kind of mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing 1 or 2 of these a week on sponsored product ads to continue to answer your questions, start diving a little bit deeper into some of these topics, start covering some more strategy behind how to do this, not just terminology. So think of this as a course, right? We're taking you guys on a little bit of a journey here. We're going to walk you through this, let you digest it piece by piece, part by part. And we thank you for coming on and sharing with us. So, Brandon, you have anything else you want to add there?
No, I think you covered a lot of that too. Like Jeff mentioned, if you do see any other, again, talking specifically about terminology, I think we went through most of the stuff, but we're kind of in the middle of this all day long. We might have missed some stuff. So if you guys see terminology floating around there you're not sure of, please post it on here. Let us know right now if you're live. If you're watching this later, we'll try and update our blog post and stuff about it if we add to that. Again, like Jeff mentioned, we've been working on our new tool Ignite for a while. We're really excited to have it starting to come out. So we are starting to onboard people with that. So make sure you go to that URL, sellerlabs.com/ignite, and get on our waiting list for that. That we'll be inviting people to that a little bit in waves over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think, before it's kind of generally available. Yeah, I think that's it. And then like Jess mentioned, we'll be doing these videos hopefully 1 or 2 times a week for the next few weeks as we build up to that. And then also you guys are all part of the Seller Labs users group, so feel free to post comments in there. Myself, Jeff, a few other people from our team will try to keep very active on answering those as well as I'm sure other members of the group will be happy to answer those as well.
Yeah, and one other thing is, I'd like to know, we will have a replay of this. We will get into some of the extra questions. To kind of wrap this up, I think we're very close on the comments to giving away 6 months free of the tool. So here's what I'm going to do. Let us know, on a scale of 1 to 5, how useful you felt this was. So let us know on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being very useful, 1 being I got some information out of it, but I'd like to learn a little. But it wasn't super useful for me. We want to know, how things are. So if this was a useful part of your time,
to that with how experienced you said you were earlier. So. I think for the people that are really experienced, there may not been a whole lot of new stuff on this, but I think we'll make our next one very much more useful as we start talking more about strategy as well.
Yeah, so let's see. We have a lot of reactions to the videos, lots of comments. Appreciate everybody's kind of feedback here. We're going to go ahead and give away, the 3 shirts. So the way that I do it is I use a random picker. It's going to give me numbers, and then those numbers will correlate back. So comment number 76 is going to get a shirt. Comment number 14 is going to get a shirt. Comment number 58 is going to get a shirt. And let's see, let's do one more this is going to be the big grand prize for the 6 months free of the tool. So go ahead and get your comments in. Oh man, 4.5. All right, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to pronounce that so I can win that one next time. Let's see here. When's the next chat, Robert Cohen? That's a really good question. We are going to do our next chat on, I don't know, Brandon. When do you want to do another chat? How about Tuesday or Wednesday? Well, we'll send out an email. I think you guys liked having the email come out. So it'll probably either be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and we're going to cover sponsored product ads. We're going to cover automated versus manual campaigns, talking about the different types of keywords that fall into each of those campaigns and how you would move a keyword from one to the other. So I think that's a good tease,
match
right?
Types a lot more specifically, right? Match types, the broad phrase and exact match types, what examples of what all those are, sort of how those evolve over time.
So here's our winners, right? So comment number 76, 14, and 58 all get a free shirt. And then comment number 21 gets 6 months. So you'll get a message from me when I go back and count all these comments and figure out who's who, because I can't really do it right now. And what's that?
A lot of this happens in real time. It's really hard to follow as a presenter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. I've got it written down. 76, 14, and 58, you all get free shirts. 21 gets 6 months free. We will definitely reach out to you, get your address, ship you the shirt, all that type of stuff. Jeremy, you want to know about Seller Labs Pro and Ignite? Yes, if you do Seller Labs Pro, it will include Ignite. So Seller Labs Pro will include Ignite. If you don't know about Seller Labs Pro, it is where you can get all of our tools for one price. So we will do that. So let's see.
Do you want to announce a time for the one on Tuesday or Wednesday? We got some people are saying like want some notice to plan around.
Okay. Yeah, I like the 2 Eastern. That always works for me, but I'll check my calendar here. Two Eastern works for me. Does that work for you?
I'm double checking, but 2 o'clock Eastern on the what's that? The 14th, right? It should be fine with me too.
Yeah. So
2 o'clock Eastern on the 14th.
2 o'clock Eastern on the 14th. We'll do another go live. Let's see. Kurt wants to know, when will Ignite be available? Ignite is available. It's just on a wait list. And the reason we have it on a wait list is to make sure that we can onboard our customers properly. So we're going to move swiftly through the wait list. I don't expect people to be on the wait list for a very long time, but it is first come, first serve. So if you go to sellerlabs.com/ignite, you have the opportunity to sign up for the wait list, and it is first come, first serve. And we're opening it up in small batches, just doing little things like not having new signups on Friday afternoon so that if there's a problem, nobody has to wait all weekend. So let's see. Andrea wants to know if I can answer her question. Andrea, the questions come through quickly, so if you can repeat your question, I can try to answer it. But
I'll look back through these too after the video's over. We'll try to hit some of these after the video's done, and we can do it more offline.
Yeah, because what happens is like it's all like this mad rush of information coming at us as we're going live with you guys, and hopefully you guys find this helpful and useful, and you like this format. We do. We like this format. It's a little bit more exciting than just doing a webinar, although we do have some webinars planned as well. So I think with that, let's sign off and thank everybody, and we will share more information with you guys here in our Facebook group. Remember to follow us. If you follow us, you'll get notifications when we go live. And we'll also shoot out emails and through our blog. So we try to communicate with you in a lot of different ways. So thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks. See you guys.